I am the notorious villainess of the capital. By the age of 20, no one dared to propose marriage to me. When the Duchess came to visit, I immediately declined. My temper is not good. I'm afraid I might resort to violence. The lady held my hand and said, "To be honest, my son is quite a good-for-nothing. If you can handle him, just don't beat him to death." Thus, with the 3 matchmakers and 6 betrothal gifts, I became the wife of Lin Xiangyi, the heir. Everyone in the capital was waiting to see when I would be divorced. I have a terrible reputation in the capital. Even 3-year-old children know my story. At 3 years old, I tried to drop my infant half-sister to her death. At 10 years old, I poisoned my stepmother's bowl of food. At 15 years old, I used a pair of scissors to ensure my fiancé could never be a man again. Thus, by the age of 20, no one dared to come forward to seek my hand in marriage. Coincidentally, there was one who was not afraid today. The Duchess came. I instinctively thought that she must have just arrived in the capital and had not yet heard of my reputation. Therefore, as soon as she began to speak, I politely declined. I have a bad temper. I'm afraid I might accidentally hit someone. But the lady took my hand. "To be honest, my son is quite a troublemaker. If you can handle him, just don't beat him to death." Her attitude was sincere and didn't seem fake. The aunt quickly spoke up. "I suppose Madam has already heard about your matter, right?" "I know everything." The Duchess nodded. Her expression was indifferent when she looked at the aunt, but when she turned to me, her lips were curved in a smile. "I think Miona would be a good match for my son." My aunt's face was a mix of crying and laughing as she hurriedly pulled me close and pleaded in my ear, "My dear ancestor, I beg you, just agree to it." I agreed to the marriage. My aunt was so moved that her eyes welled up with tears. "Thank heavens, she's finally married off." She hurried to the ancestral hall to burn incense. As soon as her father returned, she told him the good news. "Sir, Miona is going to marry into the Duke's residence. The wedding for the crown princess is in 1 month." The voice was so loud that I could hear it from far away. "Why is she so happy that I'm getting married?" My maid, Chundao, adjusted my cloak for me before speaking. "How could I not be happy? Only after the eldest young lady is married would the second young lady dare to marry. There are still a bunch of younger half-sisters and half-brothers waiting below. Now the young master is almost 15, yet he doesn't even dare to mention marriage, afraid that the young lady would mess things up. Now that someone finally wants to take her in, she can't wait to send her away." I pondered for a moment. Did I agree too soon then? Chundao was taken aback. Her eyes darting around. Logically speaking, it's not too early. After all, she's already 20. However, we can ask for a larger dowry. All of this was managed by the young lady, so we shouldn't let them take advantage. I smiled and tapped her on the head. "Truly my kind of person. You little clever one. You can write the dowry list then." Chundao was startled. "I wouldn't dare. Normally, it should be written by the madam, or if the madam is not here, it should be written by the concubine for the master to review. I'm afraid my concubine wouldn't dare to write it." With that said, Chundao agreed as well. She must have already gone over the list hundreds of times in her mind, so it only took her one night to write it out. Not a single item from her mother's dowry was missing. Everything was listed on it. The rest consisted of a few valuable shops and some farmland owned by the estate. When she saw it, the corner of her mouth twitched, and she couldn't help but speak. This is just too much." My hand holding the teacup paused slightly as I spoke calmly. "Excluding the few shops and fields at the end, the rest are all my mother's dowry. It's just that I've managed the business well over the years, and the returns have been high. Do you have any objections, Aunt?" Without waiting for her to speak, I set the teacup on the table and straightened my clothes. "Actually, I don't want to get married either. I'm used to being free at home and can't be bothered to endure the troubles of a husband's family. Waiting another 10 or 8 years wouldn't be a problem either." The aunt abruptly stood up. "If we wait any longer, the Jiang family's reputation will be completely ruined. You should think not only for yourself but also for the younger siblings under your care. What are you thinking? Anyway, Ruer doesn't want to stay in the capital, and she's doing quite well in the northwest now." I blinked my eyes, looking innocent. My sister Jiang Ru, despite her gentle name, possesses immense strength. Unable to bear the constraints of the capital, she left for the border early on. He doesn't come back even once a year, let alone getting married and having children. I don't restrict her. Anyway, I have money and can afford to support her. Jiang Ru, Do you have no other siblings besides Jiang Ru? I grinned widely, but my aunt flinched, as if startled by me. Other younger siblings? They weren't born to my mother either. What does that have to do with me? The aunt was so angry that smoke seemed to come out of her nostrils, but she didn't dare say anything more. She closed her eyes, took a few deep breaths to calm herself, then gritted her teeth and nodded. All right, I promise you, aunt. You don't have to feel so wronged. Actually, I could choose not to marry at all. Please, just get married as soon as possible. The concubine fled as if running for her life and was gone in the blink of an eye. Chundao, standing nearby, stifled a laugh and gave me a thumbs up. I thought it would be best to meet that cheap fiancé of mine sooner rather than later, but before I could go looking for him, the story of his visit to the brothel had already spread far and wide. This is deliberately done for me to see. My half-sister Jiang Yang came specifically to watch me make a fool of myself. Sister has been domineering at home for so long. Finally there's someone who can put you in your place. I heard that Lin Xiangyi spent a fortune today, just to get a kiss from the courtesan. Sister, you're not angry, but even if you are angry, it's useless. I've heard that young Master Lin has so many female companions that you can't even count them on your fingers. I glanced at her indifferently. Useless fool, still counting on your fingers at such an age. Worse than a 3-year-old child. You know that's not what I meant. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, then what did you mean? To come and laugh at me? Jiang Yang swallowed hard. And not that either. I just came to remind you, sister, to be more generous in the future and not act so arrogantly anymore. Let me remind you too. Don't meddle in other people's business, or you might get burned. Jiang Yang felt like she had punched a cotton ball, leaving with a bellyful of anger. I grabbed a rolling pin from the kitchen and weighed it in my hand. Just then, I happened to run into my half-brother Jiang Shu coming in through the back door. Our eyes met, and he suddenly dropped to his knees, covering his head. Sis, I was wrong. I won't skip school again. You came at just the right time. I lifted his chin with a rolling pin. Be good. Take me to the Red Mansion. He suddenly looked up, his eyes darting around. Our Red Mansion. Dear sister, what is the Red Mansion? I've never been there. The Red Mansion that the heir of Duke Lin's estate frequents. You should know where it is. Right. Jiang Shu instantly perked up and quickly scrambled to his feet. I know. Sister, follow me. I stood in front of the red building, holding a rolling pin. In just a short while, it had attracted quite a few onlookers. Because of my great reputation, they quickly recognized me, the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family. What is she doing here? You don't know. She and Lin Xiangyi just got engaged yesterday, but Lin Xiangyi came to the brothel early this morning, and he openly declared that the Jiang family's daughter is an unattractive woman, nowhere near as stunning as Miss Yang. The silver coins were scattered like flowers, being thrown down from the second floor. This is going to be quite a show. Who do you think will win, the Jiang family's daughter or the Lin family's heir? Is there even a question? What woman doesn't listen to her husband? She's not even married yet, and she's already trying to show off. But as soon as the words fell, the crowd fell silent for a moment. Then, someone said in a low voice, "Have you all forgotten about Jiang Mion's ex-fiancé?" I glanced over there. Almost instantly, all the men took a step back in unison, their faces filled with fear. At this moment, Lin Xiangyi stumbled out of the building. When she saw me, she froze for only a moment before immediately approaching. Are you the new girl here? You're quite good-looking. But, aren't you a bit too old? Come on, give me a smile. Don't be so gloomy all the time. Lin Xiangyi pinched my face, trying to squeeze a smile out of it. I lifted the corners of my mouth and blinked my eyes. Is young Master Lin satisfied now? Lin Xiangyi stared for a long moment, then shivered. Why is it so chilly? Xingfeng, fetch my cloak. I'm cold, my lord. I have a way to make you sweat and warm up. Before the cloak could be draped over him, I had already raised my rolling pin. I became even more famous after the battle at the Spring Breeze Pavilion. That day, Lin Xiangyi was carried back. Everyone thought the marriage was off. My aunt was so anxious that a blister formed at the corner of her mouth, and she sighed in front of me all day long. I was so close to marrying you off. Why are you doing this to yourself? Why is my fate so bitter? I thought life would get better without the mistress, but who knew I'd end up with a troublemaker like you? I gave her a cold glance. She immediately leaned in closer. Otherwise, how about we go apologize? Oh dear, what man doesn't have a wandering eye? I haven't done anything too outrageous. So let's just turn a blind eye to it. Isn't it better for us to live our lives steadily and securely than anything else? I laughed in frustration. Just as the head maid of the Duchess was entering the room, I gestured with my chin in that direction. The concubine's eyes rolled back, and she nearly fainted. It's over, it's over. They must be here to call off the engagement. Yanga has only just met a few potential suitors, and now it's all ruined. But as soon as the maid entered, she smiled and bowed respectfully before me. Immediately, boxes flowed like a stream into the room. The concubine went in and out several times to check. She confirmed that the boxes were filled with gold, silver, jewels, silk, and brocade. How strange, what is going on? I also looked at the other person with confusion. My mistress has sent me to thank you on her behalf. When you enter the household in the future, we hope you can offer some guidance to the servants. How can one strike a person so that it hurts but doesn't harm the bones or muscles? It's not that I know how to fight. I was just swinging randomly. It's just that Lin Xiangyi kept dodging, so the blows didn't land on any vital spots. This playboy is quite interesting. On the day I married Lin Xiangyi, every gambling house in the capital was taking bets. Bet how long I can last in the Duke's residence. She'll definitely be divorced within a month. Have you not seen the state young master Lin is in? The Duchess may not say anything now, but once Miss Jiang marries over and continues like this, she'll surely be heartbroken. My own son, how could I let someone climb over his head? Someone immediately chimed in. I bet half a month. As far as I know, the reason Lin Xiangyi is so spoiled is because the Duchess left him at his maternal grandparents' house since he was a child. Growing up among a crowd of female cousins, the elderly doted on and cherished him like a precious treasure. I heard the old lady will be coming to the capital in a few days. How could anyone dare to bully him? I felt somewhat disappointed. Why is no one betting on more than a year? Chun Dao looked at me in surprise. I took the silver notes from the box. Go, bet for a year. After all, my agreement with Lin Xiangyi was for a year, so this is a sure win. Chun Dao went out smiling but came back with a dark expression. They are too much, saying that being able to stay for a year is simply a fantasy. What's the compensation ratio? Chun Dao was stunned. Only then did she realize, 100. I smiled and immediately gave her a few more silver notes. Go, place bets at every gambling den. By the time I returned home, the moon was high in the sky, and Lin Xiangyi was sitting in the room with a dark expression. Today, you didn't go to serve tea to mother. I went, I took off my cloak, and the maid took it from me. You went. Did you go alone? I nodded and sat down across from him. Otherwise, my husband didn't sleep in the room yesterday, and I didn't want to disturb him. Lin Xiangyi's face darkened even more. Disregarding the dignity of husband and wife on the very first day of marriage, is this the upbringing of the Jiang family? How ridiculous. You've already experienced the Jiang family's upbringing firsthand, haven't you, husband? Besides, even mother hasn't found any fault, so what do you have to complain about? Lin Xiangyi was left speechless, staring at me for a long time before finally managing to say something. Tonight, I'll sleep in the study. Chun Dao, pack the bedding for the heir. From now on, he'll be sleeping in the study. Lin Xiangyi gritted her teeth in anger. With just one glance from me, servants brought in 2 large boxes of books from outside. These are prepared for my husband. Diligence is a good thing. I trust my husband will not disappoint me. After saying that, I took out the wooden stick I had prepared earlier. I placed it on the table right under Lin Xiangyi's watchful eyes. The corner of his mouth twitched, clearly recalling the embarrassment of that day. You wicked woman, don't go too far. I still smiled. My husband has written 18 poems for Miss Yanga. Such remarkable talent, I truly admire it. I have no other wish, only that my husband could write 18 policy essays. Lin Xiangyi laughed heartily. Impossible. If you enjoy lewd songs and poems, I could write some for you. I gently touched the wooden stick and spoke calmly. I believe my husband can. Right. Lin Xiangyi stood up to leave, but 2 servants blocked her way at the door. He turned around angrily and glared at me. I played with the storeroom key. I forgot to tell you, my dear husband, that from today onward, you won't be able to withdraw any money. Jiang Mian, I'm divorcing you. I sneered coldly, the wooden stick hitting the table heavily. I didn't hear you clearly, husband. Say it again. Lin Xiangyi shrank back, suppressing her anger. It's nothing. I'll go talk to my mother. But the Duchess has gone to worship Buddha and won't be back for at least 10 days to half a month. But I never expected that my grandmother, who was originally supposed to arrive half a month later, would arrive in just 3 days. A large group of people crowded my courtyard. "Are you the new bride Xiangyi married?" The old lady sat in the main seat, looking over with a critical eye. Before I could speak, she continued, "Shua is so confused. How could he let Xiangyi marry such a vicious woman like you? I heard Xiangyi didn't even get to eat last night. You even made him sleep in the study. How dare you defy the heavens? But it's just as well, I can send you back now. We can't afford to keep a woman like you in our family." I frowned and glanced at the woman standing beside the old lady. Her face is as beautiful as a flower, her every move exudes grace. Only when she looks at me, the resentment in her eyes is unmistakable. "I'm talking to you. Is this your attitude?" The old lady slapped the table. "Someone, slap her mouth for me." What impressive authority. There has never been a reason for others to hit me. As soon as the matron stepped forward, I slapped her. The old lady stood up abruptly in a fit of rage. Her hand trembled as she pointed at me. "How dare you, you wicked woman? How dare you lay a hand on someone right under my nose? Guards, take her away." But as her voice fell, apart from the people she had brought with her, everyone in the Duke's mansion remained motionless. The old lady's face turned ashen. "Where is your Duchess? I am her birth mother. Is this how you treat me?" The butler looked troubled, and I spoke calmly. "My mother-in-law has gone to worship Buddha and won't be back for a while. All household matters are handled by the granddaughter-in-law, so naturally, they all listen to me." "Grandmother, you've only just arrived at the Duke's residence and are already finding fault with me. I, your granddaughter-in-law, am not convinced." The old lady snorted coldly. "What do you have to complain about? You mistreated my grandson, so I have the right to punish you. But since mother-in-law, as Lin Xiangyi's own mother, supports me, what right does grandmother have to interfere?" She was being foolish. "Then just wait for mother-in-law to return, and you can scold her. What does it have to do with me?" She was so angry she was gasping for breath, and the woman beside her quickly handed her a cup of tea. "Sister-in-law, please don't say any more. The lady is not in good health. You mustn't upset her like this." Her voice was gentle and soft, carrying a 3-part tenderness and a 7-part threat. I chuckled coldly, having long heard that the old lady had brought along a delicate and charming cousin this time. Seeing her today, she's nothing special. Grandmother has lived through so many storms at her age. How could she possibly be angered by me? Moreover, this is my courtyard, so I must ask everyone to leave first. Even as guests in the mansion, it's hardly reasonable to seize the host's courtyard. The old lady couldn't get what she wanted from me and had no choice but to leave with harsh words. "I can't be bothered to argue with you. When Xiangyi returns, I'll have him divorce you." Lin Xiangyi came back, but he came to see me first. He looked me over and spoke teasingly. "Not a scratch on you, Lady Jiang. You really have some skills." I took a sip of tea. "As long as I hold the authority to manage the household, no one in the Duke's residence can harm me in the slightest. Before I married into this family, I had already made it clear that I must be in charge of the household after entering the residence. That is an elder. Aren't you afraid that if word gets out, everyone will say you are unfilial?" I looked at him, and Lin Xiangyi was taken aback. It seemed that considering my current reputation, one more act of unfilial behavior wouldn't make much difference. I poured a cup of tea and placed it in front of him. He instantly froze, looking at me in terror. "What do you want to do?" "Don't worry, it's not poisoned. Is the girl your grandmother brought over your sweetheart?" Lin Xiangyi was momentarily stunned and quickly shook her head. "What are you talking about? That woman, Chen Yao Yao, you'd better stay away from her. On the surface, she seems decent. But who knows what she's really up to behind the scenes." "Interesting." I gave him a deep look. It was clear that Chen Yao Yao had come for him, but Lin Xiangyi looked disdainful, afraid to be associated with her. "So, what has she done to you?" Lin Xiangyi's face darkened. He glanced at me warily and took a big gulp of tea. "Nothing. I'm going to work on my policy essay." Watching his panicked retreat, I couldn't resist teasing him. "Your grandmother is waiting for you to find her, and she even said you should divorce your wife." Lin Xiangyi didn't even turn his head. "How could I possibly have the right to divorce my wife? Would I dare?" The study door was closed, and Chun Dao couldn't help but feel puzzled. Has the young master changed his ways? Before, he wouldn't write a single word unless he dawdled until midnight. Indeed, it seems he's not the spoiled grandson by his maternal grandparents as the rumors say. During dinner, The old madam sent someone to invite Lin Xiangyi. He had been gone for 2 hours and still hadn't returned. Chun Dao went to inquire about the situation. I heard the dishes were reheated again and again. But the young master said he wasn't hungry. The old lady has been accompanying her all along. Poisoned, Chun Dao exclaimed in surprise. How would we know? It probably isn't. Right, I'm not so sure. When I arrived with Chun Dao, the lights were still brightly lit over there. The old lady looked at Lin Xiangyi with a sorrowful expression. Are you perhaps tired of your grandmother? At least have a bite to eat. If you go hungry, your grandmother will be heartbroken too. Lin Xiangyi's mouth twitched. I'm really not hungry, grandson. You eat. I still have to write my policy essay. My wife said I can't sleep until it's finished. The old lady snorted. If I had known it would be like this, it would have been better if you had married Yao Yao. But it's not too late now. Why not divorce her and remarry? Lin Xiangyi suddenly stood up, the smile spreading across her face. Grandmother, please don't bring this up again. My marriage is entirely up to my mother to decide. Moreover, divorcing a wife requires a valid reason, or else the Duke's household would become a laughingstock. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed for marrying such a wicked woman? My niece from my maiden family grew up with you since childhood. You know each other best, so how could you? Before she could finish, she saw me and her face darkened. I walked over with a smile. Truly, the world is in decline. There are actually those who come knocking on the door seeking marriage, and it's impossible to refuse them all. But I'm sorry, the position of the princess consort is mine, though I can add a few lowly concubines. I wonder if Miss Chen is interested. Chen Yororo's face turned pale, and her eyes immediately reddened. The old lady angrily threw a teacup. No matter how much the Chen family has declined, Yao Yao is still a noble lady who is well educated and understands propriety, unlike some people, who are notorious and infamous, and can't even tolerate their own siblings. The smile vanished from my face, and my voice turned cold. It seems the old madam came prepared as well. Since you know I can't even tolerate my own siblings, you shouldn't have provoked me. Someone, see the guests out. As soon as the words fell, everyone was shocked, although it was already late. They were driving their entire party out, no matter the reason. By then, even several mouths might not be able to explain it clearly. Even the butler couldn't help but step forward to persuade her. Please calm down, young mistress. It would be better to let them leave tomorrow. If word gets out tonight, it might lead to someone slandering our Duke's mansion. The old lady, who had been somewhat panicked, immediately regained her confidence upon hearing the butler's words. Shuo is truly foolish. Utterly foolish. To actually let a woman like you take charge. Are you truly going to ruin the Duke's estate? I'd like to see if you really dare to drive me out today. I may not have many skills, but I particularly dislike being threatened. Do I need to hand over the house keys? I looked at the butler, pressing him aggressively. The other person was startled and instinctively glanced at Lin Xiangyi. Lin Xiangyi rubbed her stomach and hurriedly ran outside. I'm hungry. Let's go back and eat. Halfway there, he paused again and looked back. Since the lady of the house is in charge of the Duke's residence, naturally everything is up to her. Xiangyi, you. The old lady was so angry she couldn't speak, while Lin Xiangyi shrugged helplessly. Grandmother, your grandson is henpecked and too afraid of being beaten. The noisy crowd was driven out in the middle of the night. It caused many people to get up and watch the commotion. That night, the commotion at the back gate of the Duke's residence went unnoticed. Chun Dao sensed something unusual and came to ask. I glanced at the light in Lin Xiangyi's study and shook my head. The heir has his own plans. Do not inquire. So, I turned off the lights early and went to bed, as agreed. I will not interfere with other matters of the Duke's residence. The next day, as soon as I got up, Lin Xiangyi, with dark circles under his eyes, was already waiting at the door. Aren't you worried? I leisurely ate my breakfast. What is there to worry about? What does reputation even matter? If I cared about such things, I would have died long ago, he gasped, and a hint of admiration suddenly appeared in his eyes as he looked at me. Just then, Chun Dao entered with a worried expression on her face. The madam has returned, and she brought the old madam with her. My mother-in-law ignored my greeting and immediately questioned me. Mian Mian. Was it you who ordered my mother to be driven out of the Duke's mansion? Before I could speak, the old madam spoke with reddened eyes. I am old and have traveled thousands of miles to see my grandson and daughter. Yet, to my surprise, I am being bullied and troubled by a junior like this. having lived for decades. I have never suffered such humiliation before, I truly. With every word she spoke, her mother-in-law's expression grew colder. Lin Xiangyi frowned. Mother. I am also at fault in this matter. The mother-in-law's expression softened a bit. The old lady continued with a dark face. I've long heard that Xiangyi married a woman notorious throughout the country, and seeing her today, she truly lives up to her reputation. Sure, you have a straightforward nature. Don't be deceived by such a petty person. I think it would be better for Xiangyi to divorce his wife as soon as possible. Lin Xiangyi chuckled coldly and shielded me behind him. Grandmother. You jest. I cannot bring myself to divorce my wife. It's rare to find a wife who can keep me in check. If I drive her away, who else could possibly restrain me? He resumed his arrogant and fearless expression, his face set in stubborn defiance. The old lady frowned deeply. Listen to what you're saying. In the past, you always respected me the most. Today, you actually defy me for the sake of an outsider. Chen Shu, she called her mother-in-law by her full name. And the other woman was startled, looking at me. Just as she was hesitating, a large group of guards entered through the door. In just a moment, they had surrounded everyone. Jiang Mian, long time no see. The newcomer's voice was sharp, and they were dressed in a bright red brocade robe. I had to look closely to barely recognize the other person, my rootless fiancé, Xia Linrue. The last time we met was 5 years ago. The scene was too gruesome. I don't even want to recall it. What's wrong? Don't you recognize me? Xia Linrue stood in front of me, and as he lowered his head, his face came extremely close. The malice in his eyes was so intense, it felt as if he wanted to tear me apart with his bare hands. My nails dug into my palms as I struggled to maintain my composure. Of course I recognize you. I'd know you even if you turned to ashes. He let out a scornful laugh and said clearly, it's good that you recognize me, otherwise this would be quite dull. After speaking, he cupped his hands in a salute toward his mother-in-law. Madam, this woman is a criminal wanted by the imperial consort in the palace. I have come to take her into custody. Mother-in-law looked at me with confusion. Before she could speak, the old lady couldn't help but interject. A woman like this has even offended the noble people in the palace. What use is she? The Lin family only has Xiangyi as the sole heir. She spoke urgently, and her mother-in-law was also moved. Xia Linrue quickly spoke up. Once the letter of divorce is given to our family, she will have no connection to the Duke's residence. After saying this, he looked at me and gritted his teeth, saying, Jiang Mian, you never expected that one day you would still end up in my hands. The Jiang family will surely abandon you, and the Duke of Lin's estate has no reason to offend a favored consort for your sake. The debt from 5 years ago, we'll settle it slowly. My closed eyes slowly opened, and I looked over coldly. I wondered where you had gone off to die. Turns out you became a eunuch. Indeed, a flawed person after all cannot serve as an official in court. Life in the palace isn't easy, is it? Xia Linrue's expression instantly cracked, and in the next moment, he grabbed me by the neck. A sense of suffocation washed over me, but in just a moment, he loosened his grip, opening my eyes. I saw Lin Xiangyi grabbing his wrist, her eyes filled with fierce determination. As far as I know, eunuchs in the palace have no authority to lay hands on the wife of the Duke's heir, do they? Xia Linrue's expression froze for a moment, then he forced a smile and said, Are you sure you want to get involved in this mess, Heir Lin? I heard there was quite a commotion at the Duke's residence last night, all caused by her. What use is such a woman? The old lady pulled her mother-in-law aside and immediately spoke up. What are you hesitating for? Are you going to let all the family fortune you've worked so hard to build be destroyed by a daughter-in-law? Lin Xiangyi sneered coldly and also looked at her. Don't forget, back then I refused to marry, but you forced me to bring her into the family. Is our Lin family the kind of cowardly rats that only seek profit and avoid harm, thinking only of self-preservation? The Duchess took a deep breath and then said to me, Since it is the palace's consort who has invited you, go change your clothes. Do not neglect the proper etiquette. Xia Linrue's pupils contracted sharply. Is the Duchess deliberately opposing the noble consort? I wouldn't dare. I simply wish to uphold the proper etiquette of the Duke's household. My daughter-in-law has only recently married into our family and is entering the palace for the first time. Of course, we must treat this with due importance. As she spoke, she removed the jade bracelet from her wrist and gave it to me. This is an imperial gift, and also the heirloom of our duke's residence. It should have been given to you long ago." Lin Xiangyi breathed a sigh of relief, but Xia Linrui's face was full of coldness. After leaving the duke's residence, his chilling voice came from beside her ear. "You don't really think this thing will stop me from touching you, do you?" After entering the palace, I did not see the so-called imperial consort. Instead, I was locked in a dark room. Xia Linrui glanced at the array of torture instruments, a cold sneer curling at the corner of his mouth. "Back then, when you allowed your sister to ruin me, did you ever imagine today? But don't worry, Jiang Ru will be joining you very soon." A slap landed on my face, stinging with a burning pain. It's been many years since I last felt this sensation. The last time was 17 years ago, when I was only 3 years old. My mother had a difficult labor, but all the midwives in the house were at my aunt's place. By the time I arrived, she had already given birth to a daughter, Jiang Yang, and my father was grinning from ear to ear. While no one was paying attention, I picked up Jiang Yang and stumbled my way to the edge of the pond. By the time they rushed over, I had already placed Jiang Yang on the railing. "Send someone to save my mother, or I'll drown her." I was trembling all over, but I forced my eyes wide open. My aunt knelt and begged my father, but it was already too late. I lost my mother, and only my sister Jiang Ru survived. My father slapped me, knocking me unconscious. When I woke up, my face was swollen, and I was sent to a dilapidated courtyard. From then on, I never let myself be slapped again. Jiang Mian. "I have already arranged a place for you sisters. The 9,000-year-old lord particularly enjoys having sisters. He will surely be satisfied, right?" His smile was eerie, and when he leaned in close to me, it was nauseating. I snapped back to reality and let out a light laugh. "But what I've heard is, the 9,000-year lord has no preference for men or women. Eunuch Xia holds such a high position, he must serve very well." "Bitch." He suddenly grabbed my hair, my scalp feeling as if it were about to be torn off, the pain so intense it went numb. In my ear was his vicious voice. "You still dare to talk back even now, Jiang Mian? Do you know how long I've been waiting for this day? Why are you so ungrateful? Or are you waiting for your good-for-nothing husband to come save you?" Xia Linrui let out a scornful laugh. With a single glance, the red-hot iron plate landed on my shoulder. The taste of blood surged up from deep in my throat, and I bit off the flesh from my own lips. Yet I stared at him without uttering a single word. "I'd like to see how long you can keep up this act." Xia Linrui, his face full of malice, took the branding iron from someone nearby. He placed it back into the fire to heat. In just a moment, it once again glowed a fiery red. "Regret it," he murmured softly, then added, "Back then, I truly wanted to marry you, but you ruined my future. Now, do you regret it?" I gently shook my head. "No regrets, back then." Xia Linrui was a rising talent, yet he braved my reputation and took the initiative to propose marriage. He was exceptionally talented, and passing the imperial exams was only a matter of time. Many noble families in the capital wanted him as a son-in-law, yet he chose me. How could one not be moved by the earnest flattery of a dashing young man? But one day, I returned home to find him pinning Jiang Ru, who had just turned 12, beneath him. "You must behave, or else I will break off the engagement with your sister. With her reputation, she won't be able to marry anyone else in the future. Jiang Ru, compared to your sister, I prefer you." I rushed in, tore him away, and grabbed a stool to smash down on him. Xia Linrui touched the blood on his forehead and only let out a cold laugh. "Sooner or later, both you sisters will be mine once you marry into this family. You are born beautiful, and Rua has a lively temperament, which is excellent." Jiang Mian, the day of the results announcement is just around the corner. In 3 days, I will be a scholar of the Son of Heaven. Don't be ungrateful. Yes, a scholar of the Son of Heaven. Once he enters high school, I won't be able to touch him anymore, so I pretended to be nice and put medicine in his tea. While he was sound asleep, I made one cut with the scissors, and it was all over. Regret? How could I possibly regret it? I only regret that I was too young back then and didn't understand the importance of eradicating the root of the problem. Xia Linrui's eyes surged with a frenzied hatred. "Very well. Let's see how long your stubbornness can last." In just 2 hours, I lost count of how many times I passed out from the pain. When Lin Xiangyi appeared with others, I thought it was an illusion. He kicked over the raised brazier, sending sparks flying, so beautiful it seemed unreal. It felt like going back to the Lantern Festival when my mother was still alive and took me to see the fireworks. She gently stroked her belly, smiling tenderly. Do you want a little brother or a little sister? Mien mien. I was eating candied hawthorns and snuggled against her belly. I want a little brother, and I also want a little sister. I can teach them to read and write. And also take them to see the fireworks. In a daze, I fell into someone's embrace. Jiang Mion. Don't die. It's a bit annoying. They're disturbing me from seeing my mother. Mother, I miss you so much. He was very warm, and I couldn't help but hold him tighter. Mom, Mien Mien misses you. Miss you so much. I had a very long dream, so beautiful that I didn't want to wake up. But mother said, sleep well, my dear, live a good life, and don't hold on to hatred. Her hand was so heavy. I couldn't hold on. Why am I so useless? I couldn't even hold on to mother's hand. Jiang Mion, an urgent voice came through, and before me was Lin Xiangyi's face, magnified. His eyes were red, and as soon as our gazes met, he immediately turned away. It's good that you're okay. Only then did I realize I was holding his hand, on which there was a bloody mark. I'm sorry. I let go, turning my back to him. Tears silently streamed down. Lin Xiangyi said nothing, just sat there quietly. Lin Xiangyi. Until the mother-in-law outside the door shouted angrily, how dare you barge into the inner palace? Do you have a death wish? Lin Xiangyi resumed her indifferent expression and wiped her finger across my face. It's not a big deal. After saying that, he opened the door and went out. Faint sounds of reproach could be heard, all coming from the mother-in-law, until Lin Xiangyi entered the room again. It seems you hold quite a deep grudge against Xie Linrui. I was taken aback for a moment. Then told him about the past events. Lin Xiangyi listened quietly and let out a deep sigh. In today's world, even beasts dare to dress up as humans, but they won't last long. Sooner or later, they'll be dealt with. I grinned widely. If he dares to bring me into the palace, he must have some impressive skills. Even if the Duke's residents were to divorce me now, no one would say a word. Lin Xiangyi. You've placed bets in all the major gambling houses, haven't you? How could I let you lose? He actually knows everything. Well, it makes sense. The 1-year agreement was set by us, and I don't believe he hasn't placed any bets himself. Focus on recovering from your injuries. During this time, no one will be able to harm you. He left. He didn't show up for 3 consecutive days. It wasn't until Chen Yaro came to find me that I learned Lin Xiangyi had actually gone to the palace to receive punishment. After 40 lashes, he was carried back. Not only that, but the title of heir has been revoked. The entire estate is on the verge of being destroyed by you. She spoke coldly, then let out a scornful laugh. If I were you, I would atone for my sins with death. Unfortunately, you are not me, and the position of the heir's wife will never be yours. Her face darkened with anger, a fierce glint flashing in her eyes. What if you were to die? If I were to die because of you, you would surely be the one to accompany me in death. If I were to die for reasons unrelated to you, you would never become the princess consort. Chen Yaro was so angry that she stared at me for a long time before saying, what exactly do I lack compared to you, that makes you're inferior to her in every way? A voice came from outside the door as Lin Xiangyi entered. Although he concealed it well, his steps were weak, and several times his body swayed, nearly causing him to fall. Xiangyi, if you speak like that, your aunt will be heartbroken. Chen Yaro spoke softly, her eyes red. Lin Xiangyi remained unmoved and said, I've already spoken with my mother. Since you're so worried about being implicated, you should go back first. What did you say? Chen Yaro couldn't believe it. Lin Xiangyi let out a cold laugh. Do you really think I'm still the reckless young man from back then? What do you mean by that? I think you know what I mean, cousin. Also, I don't like older women. Chen Yaro turned pale, looking hurt. I just like you too much. Oh, how about you die for me then? Chen Yaro was so angry that she left in tears. I was a bit confused. The history between these two must have been quite eventful. Lin Xiangyi's gaze fell on me, and she rubbed her nose. I almost forgot. You're not one to take a loss either. Get some rest. I'll be going now. He turned to leave but collapsed before taking 2 steps, in the midst of the chaos. I had no choice but to let him rest on my bed for the time being. His attendant, Xingfeng, hesitated before speaking as he held the medicine. Young master, it's time to apply the medicine. I reached out to take it and naturally lifted his clothes. The blood had already soaked through the gauze, staining a large area red. Xingfeng explained from the side. I heard Miss Chen came to see you, so the young master insisted on coming over. He said he couldn't let you look down on him. As I unwrapped the bandage for Lin Xiangyi, I chuckled softly and spoke. So, is your young master no longer pretending now? The person lying on the bed stirred slightly. In addition to the injuries from the board, there were several old scars on the back. They looked like knife wounds. The young master has always been like this. Xingfeng awkwardly replied. I couldn't be bothered to expose him. The rear palace wasn't a place he could just barge into as he pleased. Yet Lin Xiangyi not only managed to get in, but even brought me out. He himself was not beheaded, only beaten with a plank. This is not just a treatment that the heir of the Duke's residence can receive. Young madam, the Jiang family has sent someone, a servant reported from outside the door. I finished what I was doing before going to see them. The person who came was Jiang Shu. This is what father and auntie asked me to bring. I heard that sister was seriously injured. And they are all very worried. I glanced at them. They were all high-quality tonics. I nodded for Chundao to put them away. Jiang Shu added, Father said he has already submitted a memorial to the palace and will seek justice for my sister. Jiang Shu wore an expression of righteous indignation. Looking as if he was ready to stand up for me, whether it was insincere or not, I accepted it. Thank you, Father. However, Xia Linrui is ruthless, so please be cautious. Sister, don't worry, this matter is Xia Linrui's fault, and Father is well aware of it. I was somewhat surprised as I looked over. Jiang Shu lowered her head and spoke hesitantly. Auntie said that although you've been suppressing us all these years, you haven't done anything to wrong us. You are the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family. Although a married woman follows her husband, the Jiang family will not abandon you. I rested my chin on my hand and smiled. If you want to bring us closer to benefit your in-laws, go back and tell your aunt that she should know her limits. As for the rest, save the sweet talk. Jiang Shu awkwardly smiled. Sister, why are you still so unapproachable, looking for a beating? As soon as the words were spoken, Jiang Shu shrank back and changed the subject. The imperial exams are approaching. I've been studying hard recently so I can become my sister's support in the future. I didn't respond and had someone see her out. Before leaving, Jiang Shu gazed at me for a long time. It wasn't until she left that Chundao finally spoke. Actually, the young master also holds a deep admiration for you. Now that he has grown up, he should understand that you have his best interests at heart. I shook my head. I don't have his best interests at heart. I am doing this for myself, and for Ru'er. If only I could establish my own household, I wouldn't be trapped in the Jiang family's inner courtyard, constantly scheming against the concubines. Mother's death has always been a chasm between me and the Jiang family. No matter how much time passes, it cannot be erased. Why must you? Chundao tried to persuade me. I glanced at her. Do you think all these years, Auntie hasn't held any resentment in her heart? Back then, I almost caused Jiang Yang to fall to her death, and she was so frightened that she tried to quietly have me die in the backyard. But I sought out my maternal grandfather, and with the help of my uncles, I forced my father not to legitimize Auntie. When I was 10 years old and had just returned from my maternal grandparents' home, I learned that she wanted to arrange a marriage for me. That very night, I poisoned her tea. She was so terrified that for 10 whole years, she tested every meal for poison and never dared interfere with my marriage plans again. Even now that I remain unmarried, Jiang Shu and Jiang Yang have no choice but to wait with me. Not even matchmakers dare approach. But that is a matter between you and your stepmother. The young master is innocent. I let out a cold laugh. I was the one who gave Jiang Shu his name. Do you know why? Shu, I wanted him to always remain a mere illegitimate son. He may have some genuine feelings for me. But how can sincerity compare to the bond of blood? I kept the concubine alive because if I killed her, there would just be another one. She might not be as timid and easy to manipulate as I am. I don't need their shallow sincerity. Interests are what truly strengthen our bond. Besides, the entire capital knew when I was taken away. They did nothing until Lin Xiangyi brought me out, and only then did my father belatedly submit a memorial. He is the best at making decisions. I never expected Xia Linrui's connections to be so unfathomable. I was covered in wounds, and on top of that, there were numerous impeachments from the crowd. Not even Lin Xiangyi's desperate efforts could harm him in the slightest. Moreover, he led troops to surround the Duke's residence. This time, even the Duchess and Lin Xiangyi were not spared. I've already warned you not to interfere in the grudge between me and Jiang Mian, since the Duke's estate insists on being ungrateful. We shall certainly grant your wish. Xia Linrui's sinister gaze fixed on me. Jiang Mian, we'll continue our unfinished business from last time when we return. Lin Shengyi stepped in front of me. With just one glance from Xia Linrui, guards stepped forward. Does young Master Lin intend to rebel? Moreover, the 9,000-year lord has left something at your duke's residence. Young Master Lin might not even be able to protect himself. Shengyi, step back, mother-in-law spoke coldly. But Lin Shengyi did not move. Lin Shengyi, I can handle it. Last time I entered the palace, I already exposed myself, and the duke's residence has been targeted by the 9,000-year-old. There's no need for him to offend that mad dog Xia Linrui again. Moreover, with Ru'er back, I'm even less afraid. I pushed him away and walked up to Xia Linrui. He glanced down at his lower body. Eunuch Xia holds a high position. But alas, no matter how impressive you are, it ends with you, after all. A eunuch has no descendants. He could bear it no longer and raised his hand, but was tightly grasped by me. The guards immediately stepped forward, placing their swords at my neck. I looked at Xia Linrui. Otherwise, Eunuch Xia will have to kill me right here today. Watch me spill 3 feet of blood, and see if I can't drag you along with me. Xia Linrui suddenly laughed. He raised his hand, and the guard sheathed his sword. Naturally, I let go as well. How could I let you die so easily? A fate worse than death is the path I've prepared for you. I glanced at him and voluntarily followed them as they left. This time, I finally met the 9,000-year-old lord in person. White beard, red robe, ruddy complexion, with a sinister look in his eyes. Not bad. He stared at me for a long moment before nodding. What about the other one you mentioned? He went to deliver a message and will be back soon. I glare at him. Xia Linrui, but he just smiles. Good things should be shared between sisters. Jiang Mian, I'm helping you deepen your sisterly bond. You should thank me. I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? I hope you won't regret it. 3 days later, I met Ru'er in the palace. Sister, are you alright? I shook my head. Xia Linrui wanted me to feel despair. He gave up on physical torment and instead took good care of me. He was waiting for the day Ru'er returned, so he could send us both to the 9,000-year-old's bed. Ru'er was weeping like a pear blossom bathed in rain, her eyes brimming with tears. The 9,000-year-old lord felt great pity and hastily waved his hand to dismiss the others. As we were leaving, Xia Linrui whispered in my ear, after he's finished enjoying her, there will be countless eunuchs waiting for their turn. I wonder how long you can hold on. He was overjoyed, his laughter vibrating throughout his chest. All these years, you've been waiting for this day, haven't you? Xia Linrui nodded without hesitation. Every humiliation I suffer deepens my hatred for you. Don't delude yourself into thinking Lin Shengyi can save you. He can't even save himself right now. He thought he was hiding it well. But we've known all along that he's the crown prince's man. Tonight, everything will come to an end. Yes, tonight, everything will end, I murmured. Immediately after, a muffled groan was heard, and Xia Linrui instinctively looked over. His face instantly turned terrified. It's too late to escape. Ru'er threw away the 9,000-year-old's head in disgust and, in just a few steps, dragged Xia Linrui back. With an innocent face, there was a naive smile on it. Yet it sent chills down one's spine. Do you know why sister used scissors back then? Xia Linrui trembled but remained silent, because what's down there was already crushed by my hands. His body jolted as he looked over in disbelief. Jiang Ru pinched his cheek. You could have done anything. But you had to provoke my sister. Now I have to come all the way back from the border. What a hassle. Xia Linrui stepped back one step after another. You stay back. This is the Imperial Palace. Someone will find out soon, and none of you will be able to escape. Jiang Ru tilted her head and thought for a moment, then looked at me. Sister, can I have some fun? I said helplessly. Don't make it too bloody. She immediately smiled. Don't worry, sister, I know my limits. As a result, Xia Linrui died quite tragically. Fortunately, there wasn't much bleeding, it's just that all the bones in his body were shattered. By the time Lin Shengyi rushed in with others, Ru'er was clinging to my arm. Acting coquettishly, sister, I beg you, let me return to the border. His gaze fell on Xia Linrui not far away, who was lying on the ground in a strange posture. He had long since stopped breathing. Lin Shengyi swallowed hard and walked closer to Ru'er, second Miss Jiang, what skillful tactics. Ru'er glanced at him, somewhat displeased. I asked you to come to the capital to help take care of my sister a bit, not to become my brother-in-law. Get a divorce quickly. How could someone like you dare to have designs on my sister? I raised an eyebrow, and Lin Xiangyi immediately coughed a few times. The silver from the capital's gambling den. I quickly spoke up. Let's leave it at that for now. After all, I had invested a considerable amount of my own wealth, and with a 100-fold return, it was a windfall. Ru'er frowned as she looked at Lin Xiangyi. The other person quickly pulled me to his side. You know, all that talk about reputation is just a smokescreen. With a fierce wife at home, how would I dare? I chuckled coldly. Are you addicted to pretending? That day when I confronted him at the brothel, I had already made an agreement with Lin Xiangyi. I can help you keep your reputation as a playboy under wraps. But for 1 year, you cannot divorce your wife. When the time comes, we can only separate amicably, and I will take my dowry with me. After the divorce, I can establish my own household, and Lin Xiangyi's condition is, find a way to have the people from my maternal grandmother's side stay outside. There are many spies among her people. At other times, provide necessary cooperation. Writing policy proposals was to give him a legitimate reason to discuss matters in the study. On the night the old lady was driven away, a few servants from the Duke's residence conveniently went missing, and those items were also moved, so later, the 9,000-year-old's men found nothing when they searched. This gave the Crown Prince and his group a chance to catch their breath and make arrangements. The only thing I didn't expect was that Ru'er actually managed to become a general at the border. Moreover, both she and Lin Xiangyi are part of the Crown Prince's faction. At the palace gate, we encountered the Jiang family group. Jiang Yang snorted and looked at Ru'er. It really is you who has returned. Ru'er smiled and took a step forward, but Jiang Yang immediately retreated 3 steps. You monster, stay away from me. What kind of talk is that between sisters? Her father immediately scolded with displeasure, but he didn't dare to approach. Ru'er spread her hands. It's so boring. Sister, did they bully you? And so, all eyes fell upon me, eager, nervous, fearful. As I slowly shook my head, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Ru'er was very satisfied. On the way back to the Duke's residence, Lin Xiangyi secretly glanced at me more than 10 times. I really can't hold back. What do you want to say? You 2 sisters are really, that's good. He covered his mouth with his hand and quickly lowered his head in guilt. Finally, she added, only in this way can one live freely in the inner household. I remembered the night before Ru'er left the capital. She went to see father, the concubines, and her younger siblings one by one. All the rooms of those considered masters in the Jiang family, dislocate everyone's limbs for 2 hours, then put them back one by one. She stood under the long corridor and spoke in a low, eerie voice. If I find out that any of you have bullied my sister while I'm away from the capital, I will make sure you live forever lying down, unable to live well, and unable to die in peace. Remember last night's feelings. Carve them into your heart. 1 year later, Ru'er fought so fiercely at the border that the enemy nation dared not invade. The Crown Prince feared her abilities and wanted to marry her to make her his consort. The eunuch who went to deliver the imperial decree was carried back. The Crown Prince, feeling humiliated, came to the Duke's residence to find Lin Xiangyi. Lin Xiangyi spread his hands helplessly. Why did you have to provoke her, of all people? I heard from Mian Mian that back then, it was she who smashed Xia Linrui's 3rd leg. Using scissors to cut it off was just to cover up the truth. The prince subconsciously tightened his legs and trembled slightly. Then he looked at me. I slowly poured a cup of wine and spoke with a gentle smile. With me as a hostage in the capital, is your highness still not satisfied? He suddenly rubbed his arms. It's a bit chilly here at Duke Lin's residence. After saying that, he found an excuse and left. In the evening, Lin Xiangyi knocked on the door. Chundao couldn't stand it any longer. Aren't you going to let the master in? It's been a year already. I yawned and spoke indifferently. Let's wait until the money from the gambling dens is collected. So that night, Duke Lin personally led his men to collect the money from various gambling dens. I will never divorce my wife in this lifetime. If my wife doesn't divorce me, that's already a blessing. Hurry up and pay the compensation. He handed a stack of banknotes to me. Furious, I pushed them away. How dare you take it upon yourself to collect the money? Lin Xiangyi froze, a look of great confusion written across his handsome face. Chundao gave him a thumbs up. Not even the heavens can save you this time. My wife loves the joy of receiving money the most. She went to bed early last night just for today, so. Lin Xiangyi quickly returned the money, repeatedly reminding, nothing that happened this morning ever occurred. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The night before entering the palace, my mother wept bitterly in front of me. Chiyue, the emperor is a full 20 years older than Mingzhu. How can I bear to let her suffer in the palace? Once she enters, she will be trapped there for the rest of her life. My brother spoke to me calmly for the first time. Mingzhu is innocent, not as deep as you. You should take her place and enter the palace. My father looked at me coldly, without saying a word. I watched them expressionlessly. My only family. What about me? I'm even a year younger than Song Mingzhu. Aren't you afraid I'll be trapped there for the rest of my life? That night, as I lay in bed, I thought to myself, maybe after entering the palace, I should assassinate the emperor and secure a future of having my entire clan executed for them. A month ago, an imperial decree arrived from the palace, summoning the daughters of the Song family to enter the palace and be appointed as concubines. The Song family has rendered meritorious service in supporting the emperor, and this is His Majesty's favor bestowed upon them. The Song family has 2 daughters, Song Mingzhu from the eldest branch and me. Along with Song Chiyue from the second branch, Song Mingzhu is a year older than me and has not yet married, while my marriage to my childhood sweetheart Pei Xian is already an unspoken understanding. Therefore, the candidate for entering the palace this time should be her. At this moment, I am sitting at the dressing table, letting them do my makeup. I raised my hand and touched the stunningly beautiful eyebrows and eyes in the mirror, a slight smile curling at the corner of my lips. My dear family, are you ready to face my revenge? The door opened, and my mother walked in with Song Mingzhu. She looked around. Are you all packed? The people from the palace are here. Don't keep them waiting. Song Mingzhu's face appeared in the mirror. She pursed her lips, but a hint of smugness flashed in her eyes. And rightfully so, she should be smiling now. A week ago, the Pei family came to deliver the betrothal gifts. I hurried to the main hall excitedly, only to find Pei Xian holding Song Mingzhu's hand. Both of them beaming with joy. The Pei and Song families were discussing a marriage, but it was about him and Song Mingzhu. Pei Xian still looked at me with his affectionate eyes. I'm sorry, but Mingzhu wouldn't be able to handle life in the palace. With all the scheming and deceit inside, she wouldn't survive. With reddened eyes, I stared at him. And what about me? You know how much I yearn for freedom. Do you think I can adapt to life within the palace walls? Pei Xian had spent time on the frontier, and he often told me about life there, saying the people were simple and honest, and women could even ride horses. Whenever he mentioned this, I would always act coquettishly, begging him to take me there someday. He would always smile and say back then, "All right, once we're married, I'll take you there." From then on, I eagerly looked forward to the day we would marry. But now, he lowered his head in silence. Lady Pei, who usually doted on me, stood before me and said, "Pei Xian can marry anyone he wants, as long as she's a daughter of the Song family." I stood there with numb feet, no longer able to hear their voices. After the Pei family left, they told me that I was to enter the palace as a consort. I knelt before them, crying my heart out, begging them not to send me into the palace. I was terrified. My personal nanny knelt on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly, hoping they would not abandon me. "My lord, I beg you. Please don't send the young lady into the palace. She's so young. How can she enter that place that devours people's bones?" She continued kneeling towards her mother. "Madam, this old servant begs you. The young lady is your own flesh and blood. How can you bear to do this?" The entire room was filled with the sound of the nanny kowtowing, and soon blood continuously streamed down from her forehead. They remained unmoved. I knelt before my mother, clutching her sleeve tightly. "Mother, I don't want to enter the palace. I cannot marry Pei Xian. I beg you. I really don't want to go into the palace." She didn't lower her head to look at me, just glanced at me briefly before shaking off my hand. "How can you be so selfish? Mingzhu is your cousin. She lost her mother at a young age. If she has to enter the palace now, wouldn't that be even more cruel to her?" I was thrown to the ground, looking at her helplessly. "Then what about me? Since I was little, you've always made me yield to her. When gifts arrived, she always got to choose first. She could sleep in your room with you, but I couldn't. Whenever we argued, you always took her side. She suddenly slapped me across the face. Enough, this is what you deserve. You should be the one giving in to her. Song Chifeng, who was standing nearby, chimed in. Ha, so eloquent. I always said you're a jealous person, holding on to such a small matter for so long. I stared at them in confusion for a moment, then pointed at the innocent-looking Song Mingzhu. How much more do I have to give in to her? She doesn't even need to say anything. You all speak up for her, while I have to fend for myself. Song Mingzhu's mother and my mother were close friends since their youth. She died from postpartum hemorrhage while giving birth to Song Mingzhu, and her father remarried a new wife just 1 month later. Mother, feeling sorry for her, took her back to her own courtyard to raise her. At that moment, father, who was sitting in the main seat, stood up and said, "Enough, you must enter the palace. Guards, drag this old hag out and beat her with a cane." I watched in despair as the nanny was dragged away. The pitiful cries of the nanny outside continued to ring out. I collapsed weakly onto the ground. In their eyes, the nanny was just a servant, a tool they could use to force me into submission. Yet, the nanny was the only one in this household who truly cared for me. Release the nanny. I agree to enter the palace. I spoke weakly, my voice not loud but enough for them to hear. That night, I was locked in my room. However, the nanny was too severely injured, and they did not call a doctor to see her. So she still died that night. The night before entering the palace, I was released. I stood expressionless in front of the nanny's grave, fingertips clenched tightly. A suppressed sob escaped the throat, tears continuously streamed down, and the shoulders trembled uncontrollably. After putting on the hair accessory and pressing the lips against the rouge paper, the reflection in the mirror grew even more radiant and captivating. I slowly rose and walked step by step towards Song Mingzhu. Song Mingzhu curled her lips into a smile. Sister is truly stunningly beautiful. I'm sure His Majesty will be utterly captivated. I ignored her. Mother, I said I would bring half of the Song family's wealth into the palace. I wonder if you have prepared it. Half is impossible. Mingzhu will be getting married in a few days, and I need to prepare a dowry for her as well. I continued to stare at Song Mingzhu, the provocation in her eyes growing more and more irritating. I casually picked at my nails. So you're unwilling, then? Don't be ridiculous, I'm just... Before she could finish, I swiftly pulled the hairpin from the back of my head and aimed its sharp end at Song Mingzhu's face. Song Mingzhu couldn't dodge in time, and a long, deep gash was slashed across her face. Blood instantly gushed from the wound like a fountain. Song Mingzhu covered her face, looking at me in disbelief. Song Chiyue, you're insane. How dare you hurt me? Mother rushed over to check her face, and upon seeing the bloody wound, she instantly screamed, "Ah, my Mingzhu, Mingzhu, that's the name she gave her, meaning treasured pearl." She glared at me fiercely and raised her hand to strike my face. I made no attempt to dodge. Staring at the hand paused right in front of my face. "Go ahead, hit me. Do it for your precious pearl." I looked at her with a half-smile. "I told you, I want half of the Song family's wealth. I'll leave when it's all packed up." She gritted her teeth. "The eunuch is already waiting outside. Are you really going to disregard the lives of the entire family like this?" I glanced at her and didn't respond anymore. She looked sympathetically at Song Mingzhu, who was crying beside her, and immediately helped her up, saying, "Quick, call the doctor. Don't let it leave a scar." Leaving no scar is impossible. I used all my strength to stab it in. In no time, everything was prepared. Dozens of boxes of gold, silver, and treasures, along with a stack of property deeds for houses and shops, were all laid out before me. Song Chifeng, who had delivered the items, shot me a glare and said impatiently, "Can we go now? Where is Dooku? I want to take her with me." Dooku was the only daughter of the nanny and my personal maid. We had grown up together since childhood. Mother's expression was a bit unnatural. "I've arranged a marriage for her. I'll give you another maid." I stopped speaking and sat on the stool, admiring my nails by myself. In the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Dooku appeared before me. Her voice was hoarse. "Miss." Looking at the young girl before me, I was utterly shocked. Her eyes were red and swollen, her clothes were disheveled, and faint red marks were visible on her neck. Even though I had never experienced it myself, I knew exactly what had happened. Suppressing the hatred in my heart, I demanded, "Who was it? Tell me, who did this?" The girl trembled all over and said, "It was Liu Zhong." Liu Zhong was the son of the Song family's steward and the older brother of Song Mingzhu's personal maid. My eyes slightly reddened. Call Liu Zhong over. Song Chifeng looked at me. That's enough. If you want to take her away, just go. She's just a maid. Are you really going to avenge her? I said. Call Liu Zhong over. Before long, Liu Zhong knelt before me. Miss, I was wrong. But I was thinking that since she's going to marry me sooner or later, it doesn't matter if we sleep together first. There was no trace of remorse in his words. He might even brag about it later. I stroked Dooku's head and said, Dooku, you're going to accompany me into the palace. You're so gentle, how will you protect me in the future? She looked at me blankly at first, but then her eyes grew resolute. I turned and walked up to Liu Zhong, and in an instant, I thrust the hairpin deep into his neck. Blood sprayed out. A few drops of blood landed on my face. Liu Zhong's eyes widened as he slowly collapsed to the ground. Everyone in the room looked shocked, their eyes wide as they stared at the scene. You actually dared to kill someone. I turned to Song Chifeng. I killed him. So what? Then I looked at my mother. What? Mother, are you going to arrest me? You'd better hurry. Then, don't miss the auspicious hour. She pursed her lips. Drag the person away. Don't let anyone in the palace see. Hurry up and clean her up again. Wipe the blood away. The matron and the maids immediately carefully wiped the blood off me, making sure there was no trace of blood on my body before they felt at ease. Now you can leave. I smiled faintly at her. Of course. Every moment I was locked in the room, I kept thinking whether I should assassinate the emperor and bring upon myself the crime of exterminating the 9 clans. But the moment I stepped into the palace gates, I had an epiphany. Death was too merciful for them. I wanted them to suffer a fate worse than death. They must regret sending me into the palace every single moment. On the day I entered the palace, the emperor summoned me to serve him in bed. The emperor was very pleased with my performance. After the intimacy, he stroked my hair and said, I recall the candidate chosen to enter the palace was supposed to be Song Mingzhu from the eldest branch of the Song family. Moreover, the Song family is currently led by the second branch, so how did it end up being you? The emperor looked at me with a teasing gaze. As if anticipating my nervousness and unease, I raised my hand and touched his chest, smiling faintly. They don't like me and couldn't bear to part with Song Mingzhu. The emperor was clearly taken aback for a moment. Then chuckled softly. This is the crime of deceiving the sovereign, yet you speak so candidly. I held him tightly, pressing my head against his chest. Your Majesty is my husband. Whatever my husband asks, I will answer truthfully without hiding anything. I paused for a moment, then continued with a hint of a nasal tone, and what I said wasn't wrong. They really don't like me. He didn't say anything more, only tightening his arms around me a little. After a while, he lifted my head. I was biting my lip tightly, a teardrop hanging at the corner of my eye, looking utterly pitiful. He kissed my lips and pressed his body against mine. The next morning, Eunuch Li arrived at Weiyang Palace with an imperial edict. On the second day of entering the palace, I became the consort Chen. A steady stream of rewards continuously flowed into the Weiyang Palace. The emperor summoned me to his chambers for several consecutive days afterward. For a time, I was unrivaled in favor and influence. 6 months later, I had been promoted to the rank of noble consort, becoming the true favored consort. That evening, a vassal state presented a rare tiger as tribute. The emperor was delighted and held a banquet in the palace. The emperor and empress had not yet arrived. Just as I was sitting there expressionless, Dooku leaned close to my ear. Your Highness, the Song and Pei families have arrived. I lazily lifted my gaze, watching as several people approached me. Song Mingzhu, with her large belly, was being accommodated by the group, all walking slowly. Dooku gritted her teeth. Your Highness, shall I drive them away? They bring bad luck. I raised my hand. No need. A group of people walked up to me. Greetings. Your Highness, the noble consort. I stood up and walked over to Song Mingzhu. Wearing that veil, how unsightly must you be? Her eyes darkened. This humble woman is ugly and fears she might offend your Highness's eyes. Such a long scar. Song Mingzhu must dream of killing me every night. Looking at my mother's hand shielding her belly, I sneered coldly. What, afraid that I might harm her? She didn't look at me. I just fear offending your Highness. Song Mingzhu suddenly spoke up. I still want to thank your Highness for giving my husband to me. Please forget the past affection between you and him. As soon as the words were spoken, The surrounding concubines all turned to look in this direction. I stared at her, a flicker of murderous intent flashing in my eyes. Idiot. Pei Xian glanced at me in a panic, grabbed her hand, and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Let's go quickly." Song Mingzhu looked at me with a triumphant expression. Dooku looked furious. "Your Highness, they are going too far. There are so many people in the palace just waiting to catch you making a mistake. Not only does the lady not show any concern for you, but she also lets Song Mingzhu speak so recklessly, watching their retreating figures. It's fine. They'll regret it soon enough." Not long after, the Emperor arrived, and the room instantly fell silent. The Emperor seated me right beside him, holding me affectionately in his arms, but he didn't say a word. Seeing his cold and indifferent gaze, I knew he was angry. The news spreads really fast. The tiger in the cage was growling lowly, massive and fierce. I half lay on the Emperor's body. "Your Majesty, I heard this tiger is extremely fierce. Why not send someone to try and tame it? If successful, it would add a brave tiger general to the nation. Even if it doesn't succeed, this beast is inherently fierce, and no one will say anything." The Emperor said expressionlessly, "Oh, does my beloved consort have someone in mind? Pei Xian from the Pei residence. General Pei is young and vigorous, making him an excellent candidate to achieve great deeds." The Emperor paused and looked at me coldly. "My beloved consort truly believes he is capable. Just give it a try and you'll know." Only then did the Emperor show a smile. "Pass the order down, let General Pei Xian attempt to tame the tiger." Before long, Pei Xian and the tiger stood together inside the large cage. "Your Highness, the madam and the eldest young master wish to see you." I glanced at my mother and Song Chifeng beside me. Both were looking at me anxiously. This is just the beginning." The tiger roared loudly and suddenly pounced fiercely at Pei Xian, but unfortunately, he dodged it. In an instant, Pei Xian couldn't dodge in time, and the tiger bit his leg. Outside, Song Mingzhu was weeping bitterly, crying out, "Please, save him." The Emperor pursed his lips and raised his hand. Immediately, someone went to drive the tiger away. After a while, Pei Xian was carried out, covered in blood and wounds. The banquet ended, and Pei Xian was taken back to the Pei residence for medical treatment. My mother stood in the palace corridor, blocking my way. She looked at me anxiously. "Chiyue, quickly arrange for a physician to treat Pei Xian." I touched the headpiece in my hair. "Mother, it's not that I'm unwilling." Song Mingzhu's words have reached the Emperor's ears. If I send a physician to see him now, I'll lose my position as imperial consort in the next moment. Her face filled with terror. "How is that possible?" "What about Mingzhu then?" Song Chifeng pointed at me angrily. "We wanted to see you earlier, why didn't you meet us? If you had pleaded with the Emperor then, perhaps Pei Xian wouldn't have had to fight the tiger." "Phut, haha, why would I plead for mercy? I was the one who recommended to His Majesty that he go tame the tiger." They both looked at me in disbelief. "Have you lost your mind? You've just ruined Pei Xian. What will Mingzhu do now?" "Mother, it's your fault." When Song Mingzhu said those things, "Why didn't you stop her?" If it reaches the Emperor's ears, I must prove that I have no relationship with Pei Xian whatsoever. This opportunity is perfect. She took a step back and nearly stumbled, but fortunately, Song Chifeng caught her in time. She covered her face and burst into tears. I ignored the two of them and turned to leave. The next morning, Doku happily walked in. "Your Highness, good news." I straightened the hair in front of my chest. "What is it?" After Pei Xian returned, his life was in danger, and he only survived after having his leg amputated. Then Lady Pei got angry and made Song Mingzhu kneel in the courtyard. As a result, Song Mingzhu had a miscarriage, which damaged her health, and she will never be able to get pregnant again in her life. The person in the mirror, though without makeup, still looked charming and captivating. I smiled faintly, appearing almost like a femme fatale. That is indeed good news. On the day of the beginning of autumn, I was diagnosed as pregnant. The Emperor was overjoyed and granted me a small favor. I requested to return to the Song family for a visit. He remained silent for a moment but eventually agreed. That day, as the imperial physician's expression grew increasingly grim, Dooku anxiously asked, "Physician, how is Her Highness's condition? Can the child still?" The physician sighed, stood up, and said with his head lowered, "Your Highness, your body can no longer bear children. This child will inevitably be lost." I lowered my head, a trace of sorrow flashing in my eyes. "It's all right, How many days do you think this child has left? Not more than a week. I gave a glance to Dooku. Show the sachet to the physician. The physician held the sachet and sniffed it for a moment. Your Highness, there is musk inside this sachet. After the physician left, I sat there despondently, holding the sachet. Your Highness, can we not even try for a child? Perhaps with some proper care, it might still be possible. I pulled her to sit down and rested my head on her shoulder. What's the point? Ever since the night I entered the palace and was given the contraceptive medicine, my body has been unfit for pregnancy. Consort use screen. Consort Hui's handkerchief. Lady use comb. And so on. Each of these items contains musk-based substances. Even this sachet, which my mother gave me on my birthday, has musk in it. Dooku was already in tears. I smiled faintly and wiped them away for her. Why are you crying? None of these people will come to a good end. I just feel it's unfair to you, my lady. My heart aches for you. If my mother were here, she would never allow you to harm yourself like this. I gently touched her cheek. I would still do it, but she would never blame me. I sat up straight and said, give the order. We return to the Song residence tomorrow. The next day, when we arrived at the entrance of the Song residence, everyone from the household was waiting at the door, including Song Mingzhu, who had already married, was standing there as well. Greetings, Your Highness, the Imperial Consort. I glanced at her lightly and said, rise, quite orderly, everyone is here. At the dining table, Song Mingzhu suddenly scooped a bowl of soup and placed it in front of me. Chi-yu, have a bowl of soup, it's good for your health. Seeing me staring straight at her, she immediately served herself a bowl and drank it. Song Mingzhu's eyes were full of anticipation. She really wanted me to drink this bowl of soup. My mother, standing nearby, lowered her head. Mother, do you think I should drink it? Her eyes looked at me with a hint of guilt. I sneered inwardly. What was there to feel guilty about? It wasn't the first time she had tried to harm me. Drink. Go ahead and drink. It's good for your health. I curled my lips into a smile and downed it in one gulp. After the meal, Song Mingzhu noticed that I had been sitting there all along, constantly twisting my handkerchief. Your Highness, the time has come. It's time to go. I glanced at Song Mingzhu. She seemed a bit happy to hear this. What's the rush? It's not easy for me to come out and see my relatives. I stood up and walked over to Song Chifeng, saying coldly, I heard you're reporting to the Ministry of War tomorrow. He replied nonchalantly, that's right, you don't need to go. Why not? My dream is to achieve great deeds and make a name for myself. I must go. What achievements and glory, it's just a cushy job. The father behind him set down his teacup. You should return to the palace soon. The affairs of the Song family have nothing to do with you. I say you cannot go, so you cannot. If you dare to go, I will report to the emperor how you killed someone while fighting over a prostitute at the Spring Blossom House. Song Chifeng glanced at his father, then turned to glare at me angrily. How do you know about that? I leisurely sat down. Never mind how I know, but you can never enter the officialdom in this lifetime. You're going to ruin the Song family. What good does it do you if your brother's future is destroyed? Father, you should have known from the moment you destroyed me. Over here, Song Mingzhu and her mother were almost frantic with anxiety. Mother pulled Song Chifeng's hand. Stop talking, just let her go quickly. Agree to her request. Right, brother. Just agree to her first. She wouldn't dare to actually do it. I curled the corner of my mouth, lazily looking at Song Chifeng. Then you can go ahead and try. Song Chifeng shook off their hands, pointing at me angrily. Song Chiyue, don't think just because you're some kind of imperial consort now that I wouldn't dare to hit you. Be careful or I'll break your legs. Then do it. Since childhood, whenever I had a dispute with Song Mingzhu, he would always slap me across the face without asking for the reason, and then warn me, be careful, or I'll break your legs. Song Chifeng clenched his fist. Don't dare, then you're a coward, instantly. Song Chifeng slapped me across the face. As I fell to the ground, I saw Dooku outside the door rushing in with the guards. The guards immediately restrained the Song family members. Song Chifeng glared at me with gritted teeth. Song Chiyue, you wouldn't dare do anything to me. I am your own brother. Drag him down and break his legs. Outside, Song Chifeng's miserable screams continued. While the Song family members wept incessantly beside him, I felt a warm flow between my legs. I tightened my grip on Dooku's hand and said, Dooku, do you think his screams are as pitiful as your mother's when she was beaten? Before I could hear her speak, I fainted. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Dooku sitting beside me. "Your Highness, you're awake. You scared me to death. How long have I been asleep?" She quickly helped me sit up halfway. "It's been 2 days, Your Highness. The child is gone." I thought I was prepared to lose the child. But when I actually heard that he was gone, my heart still ached a little. And then, the Song family has been imprisoned by His Majesty, awaiting your awakening before any further action is taken. The eldest young master's legs were not treated in time and are now permanently disabled. He will be confined to his bed for the rest of his life. Song Mingzhu has also confessed that the bowl of chicken soup she gave you contained an abortion drug, and the madam was aware of it. Even the members of the Song family's main branch have been thrown into prison. His Majesty is furious. The Song family is completely finished now. Dooku, the nanny, can finally rest at ease now. A month later, I stepped into the prison cell. Song Mingzhu was already half mad, and her mother still held her. Sitting in the corner, seeing me approach, Song Mingzhu immediately rushed over. "Ah, Song Chiyue, I want to kill you. It's all because of you. It should have been me entering the palace. Me becoming the imperial consort. This wealth and honor should have been mine." The guards pinned her to the ground. She continued to curse. Why should I spend the rest of my life with a cripple like Pei Xian? You're the one who deserves this kind of life." As she spoke, she burst into maniacal laughter. "Ha ha ha, Song Chiyue. If I can't have children, you won't have any in this lifetime either. I made sure to use enough of the drug." Dooku tried to persuade me to leave. But I shook my head. The mother beside me kept kowtowing. "Chiyu, please let Mingzhu go. Ever since Pei Xian became disabled, he's been moody and keeps hitting her. She only did this because she couldn't take it anymore. Please let her go." I sat on the stool and sneered. "Ha, then why did you harm me?" She glanced up at me, then quickly lowered her head again. "You, just think of me as bad. Just think of me as not your mother. I stopped seeing you as my mother long ago." What kind of mother would send her own daughter into the palace, give her daughter a sachet containing musk, and kill the child in her daughter's womb? Tell me, what kind of mother would do such a thing? My whole body trembled, and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Wiping away my tears, I said, "I really don't understand you. Even a vicious tiger doesn't harm its own cubs. Yet just because her mother was your close friend, you would protect her daughter and hurt your own." She beat her chest and cried bitterly. I was wrong. Mingzhu said that sachet was just for contraception, and that bowl of chicken soup was only meant to cause a miscarriage. I didn't know it would make you unable to have children for the rest of your life." Dooku handed over a stack of papers, and I threw them right in front of her. "Take a look, see what your good friend and your husband have done." Her stiff hands picked up the papers and looked at them, her eyes gradually filling with terror. "They had been involved with each other when you were pregnant with Song Chifeng. Song Mingzhu is actually their daughter. The Song Mingzhu you have cherished since childhood is your husband's illegitimate child. How ridiculous." I never expected to receive such news. Her entire body trembled as she stared wide-eyed at the paper in her hand. "How is this possible? Mingzhu is actually their daughter. Before she died, she actually entrusted their illegitimate child to me. How could this be? I treated her with so much love, even at the expense of my own daughter, only to find out it was all a lie." Seeing Song Mingzhu beside her already gone mad, she suddenly laughed. She reached out her hand. And just as she was about to touch my shoe, a guard kicked her against the wall. "Yue, my dear Yue, how could I have treated you like that? How could I have harmed my Yue?" I looked at her expressionlessly, blinked, and a tear streamed down. "In my next life, Mother will come to atone for her sins." With those words, she threw herself against the wall. The guard stepped forward and checked her breathing. "She's dead." Later, I sent Song Mingzhu back to the Pei residence. The emperor decreed that Pei Xian and Song Mingzhu could never be separated in this lifetime. They would live and die together. Song Mingzhu would sometimes be normal and sometimes go mad. Pei Xian would beat her when she was lucid, injuring her until she was treated, and once she recovered, he would beat her again as long as she wasn't killed. When Pei Xian first started beating her, he would always say, "It's all because of you, you wretched woman, otherwise, Chiyu wouldn't have left me." Somehow, these words reached the emperor, who reprimanded Pei Xian once more. From then on, he never spoke my name again in his life. After Song Chifeng and his father were released, his father went to work cleaning toilets in a brothel, where he was insulted and beaten every day. Meanwhile, Song Chifeng lay paralyzed in bed, with no one to care for him. One winter, he died in his bed, though it was unclear whether it was from cold or starvation. At that moment, I was slumped in the hall, idly flipping through a book. "Ah, my beloved consort, why are you sighing?" The emperor's sudden remark startled me, and I quickly rose to pay my respects. He held me up. "No need," he took my hand. "My beloved consort, you must be quite bored." "Yes, your majesty. Do you have anything fun to do?" "Nothing particularly new. I just want to entrust one of the princes to your care." I quickly shook my head. "I can't do it. I've never raised a child before, let alone a prince." He smiled faintly. "Well, the 9th prince is already 7 years old. He doesn't require much raising. His birth mother passed away from a cold not long ago, and it's inconvenient for him to be without a mother. I think you're very suitable." I pouted slightly. "If your majesty believes I can do it, then I will give it a try." "Don't worry, that child is exceptionally intelligent and gentle in nature. You will like him." From then on, I had a son, and in this palace, I gained another family member. In the 40th year of Shenzhen, His Majesty appointed the 9th prince as the crown prince, and I became the empress. In the 50th year of Shenzhen, His Majesty passed away, and the entire nation mourned together. In the same year, the crown prince ascended the throne, and the era name was changed to Xuanda. I then became the Empress Dowager. Looking at Dooku, whose appearance remained unchanged, I frowned and said, "Dooku, are you really not going to get married?" She pouted. "I really don't want to get married, Your Majesty. Now that you're living a good life, you can't abandon me." I looked into the distance. It really is a good day. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.